My next guest is going to be back in action, taking on Bryan Barbarena, UFC Fight Night, March 16th. It is Gerald Meerschaert, the real GM3. Gerald, how are you?
James, I'm great. How are you doing?
I'm doing awesome. Good to see you get a fight booked. I know we haven't seen you since your last fight, which was back in August, and then you had the grappling match against Craig Jones. Was this sort of the right amount of time off? I know you're always in the gym training, but take me through sort of going from your last fight to this one. Was this ideal timing?
I mean, you know me, I like to stay active. I definitely could have fought earlier, but it wasn't anything bad. The UFC takes care of me, and I was able to help a lot of teammates get ready for some big fights. So all in all, I feel like I'm peaking at the right time right now, and hopefully I knock this one out, have no injuries, and I can get three more in before the end of the year.
When they tell you you're fighting Bryan Barbarena, a little bit of a surprise. I know Barbarena has fought at middleweight, I think the last one or two fights, but he's mainly known as a welterweight. Was it a name that took you off guard, or were you kind of like, hey, this is great?
Uh, yeah, I didn't know that he was like making a permanent move up. I saw he fought Muradov, but it was. I think it's a good fight. It's exciting. Obviously, we have. If you look on paper, we got clashing styles. We got a similar amount of fights in the UFC, and I think both of us are kind of known for having exciting fights and kind of turning the tides on guys when it looks like all hope is lost. So it should be a good matchup.
Want to back up a little bit. I mentioned the obviously some of the grappling matches you've done. Obviously, you're known for your ground game. You have UFC records in that regard. Is that something you're going to continue doing? Like, do you like doing that? Well, just sort of keep you active. And hey, you got to grapple Craig Jones. I know not the result you wanted, but that's pretty cool to be in on the mats with him.
Yeah, yeah. I like grappling. I wouldn't mind doing it more. Like I said, it wasn't the result I wanted. I also, and this is not to say that I take Craig Jones lightly at all, but at the time, Impa was getting ready for his PFL, like the final fight, the championship fight of the season, and I was a big partner for him because he was fighting another left-handed guy who likes to grapple. So, and I was like, I'm not, this grappling match, like, yeah, it's cool and prestigious and whatever, but it's not worth changing my whole schedule and taking away from someone who's like fighting for $1 million just because I'm gonna, grapple Craig Jones. That being said, I would still love to do it. I even go against Craig Jones again and maybe, actually try to do some jiu-jitsu beforehand instead of just MMA training. See
Mhm.
if I could do a little bit better. But yeah, no, I'm always interested in that.
I know the last two fights haven't gone your way. What have you sort of taken away from those performances that you're bringing into this fight?
Obviously we're both going to be hungry for a win. I'm down my last two. He's down his last three. Um, you know, the Piper fight definitely was not a great performance. Uh, I had some issues staying healthy before that one. This time it's been much, much better. Petrosky was another tough fight where, there's another guy, he's undefeated at middleweight, if I remember, or maybe one loss, but he was on a streak.
Mhm.
And, just got to give a little more push in certain areas. And it was kind of a either way fight. If he wouldn't have landed that big one in the second, who knows? But I know that I could have pushed a little bit more. And especially against a guy like Barbarena, you got to push the pace. I don't think it's a secret to anybody, and I'm sure you're going to ask this as far as like what game plans are. Clearly, I had the advantage on the ground, so like the idea would be to take him down. And he never wrestles anybody as far as I can remember, so he's going to try and keep it on the feet. But either way, the guy that can impose their will and push their pace, that's going to be a big thing, and I've been putting a lot of work into that.
A little bit bummed you didn't get to fight on 299. Obviously, that's in Miami, a little bit closer than Vegas.
Yeah, that would have been nice. I'd like to do that again someday anyway, and just redeem myself for the poor performance I had. What's now close to my new hometown, but I'm sure a couple good performances, I'll get back on a numbered card here soon.
Training camp. You train at one of the best gyms in the world over there at Killcliff. I'm always seeing the photos. I saw you I actually just saw your latest photo. You got the two, I think the Russian fighters with you. I mean, there's so much variety there as far as training partners. Are there some guys you're working with a little bit more than others? Who are you getting to work with over there?
Yeah, usual cast of characters. I'm trying to get with as much as the lefties as I can, and guys that are just high activity on the feet. We've had a lot of, not that I'm just sparring with these guys, but we got a lot of guys getting ready for fights. Tuco just had a fight. Brendan Allen's back. He's getting ready for a big fight. Impa and Jason just had their fights that they were getting ready for. Aaron Jeffries down by us again. He's getting ready for a big fight. It's like the week after me, if I remember correctly. So a lot of the big guys have stuff coming up, and Gilbert's getting ready for his fight as well. So that's, we can all feed off that energy, feed off each other, and hopefully get the result we want.
Sure, you've been asked this before, but obviously a big story sort of the last year was Ian Garry leaving the gym. Did you ever train with him over there? Because, we've heard some interesting stories since he's left, about like filming training and all that. Like, what was your experience with Garry when he was at Killcliff?
I mean, he was nice to me every time I saw him, and I was nice and kind. Like he, seemed, at least attitude-wise, just from personal interactions, or sorry, not personal, passing interactions. He was friendly and whatever, but I never really. I think maybe one or two times I saw him train with the team. He scheduled some stuff kind of on his own. But like, I don't know if I was living here quite yet or if I was still doing a camp or something. So it was like I wasn't in all the time either, but I didn't really see him that much. So I can't really speak to training with him. I don't ever remember going with him, and if I did, it was, one time, which doesn't really tell you anything. But outside of our brief interactions, yeah, I can't give you much. I wasn't there that much.
No worries. No, I like the honesty.
There.
I've just, because I've heard different opinions. I've heard from some people that, it was great training with him. I've heard from others that, like Marc-Andre Barriault didn't have very nice things to say about him. I was just sort of curious, what the overall thought is from the team, because I could see sort of both sides of it as well. How's the weight cut going? You're a big guy, Gerald. How's everything going ahead of the fight?
It's going good. Weight's good. I've never missed. Don't plan on it happening anytime soon. So we should be right on schedule.
Your corner, what will that look like going into this fight?
I'll have Henry, I'll have Tuco in my corner, and Jason Strout.
And how's this one playing out? You sort of hinted it there. Good stylistic matchup for you there. You do hold a record for most submissions. It's safe to say we'll probably see this one hit the mat.
Yeah. I posted something on Instagram kind of alluding to what the game plan is, and I'm sure it's not a mystery to anybody. I have the best advantage if I take him down and put him on his back. He's got the best advantage, or theoretically has an advantage if he lets me not do that. The difference is I can crack on the feet, and usually when I submit somebody, it's because I've beaten them up on the feet first and then got a takedown. I don't really recall him ever taking anybody down, which is not a knock against him, but I just have a more complete skill set, I think.
How many more fights do you have left on your contract? I was wondering that.
I got a longer one, so I got quite a few.
Oh, good. Okay. Yeah.
They're they want me around, so I would like to put together a better win streak and all that stuff, but for whatever it's worth, they must like what I'm doing, and I'm sure the betting people love me because even though I've had mixed results, if you put $100 on me every time, you'd still be up a lot because I'm almost always the underdog. So.
Yeah, no, you're 100% right about that. What do you think should happen with the middleweight title? A lot of people are wondering like who should be next for DDP as far as like a contender. This is your division. There's a couple options. Look like they're trying to do, Adesanya. Some people say Chimaev because obviously he's been on quite the run. Some people argue Sean Strickland should get a rematch because the fight was so close. Like, where do you sit on that? Like, who do you think should get the next shot? And Jared Cannonier as well. I should mention
obviously
him.
I'm biased, but Brendan, my teammate, he's fighting Vittori.
Yeah.
Brendan's fighting Vittori. If he wins that and finishes him in really dominant fashion, you can make an argument there, get some new blood in the title mix. There's still a lot of guys you could move around to fight each other potentially. I could see them trying to do the Sean Strickland rematch. I don't think that would sell as much as the Izzy DDP fight, but I don't know if Izzy comes back and gets an immediate title shot just based off of the hype. Like I think they might make him fight one more time. Mm-hmm. So has he fought Cannonier yet?
Who, Adesanya?
Maybe? No. Yeah.
Yeah, he fought, and it wasn't a very good fight. That was at International Fight Week 2 summers ago. Remember they had their fight, and people were kind of critical because they said it wasn't very entertaining. So Cannonier has fought Adesanya, but it went the distance.
Okay, so I'm trying to think who they would like.
Well, the reason I bring it up too is because like I don't think there's a clear-cut contender. Like I think you could make arguments across the board. You because like okay, let's talk about Adesanya. He clearly lost to Sean Strickland, and I know people will say, well, he had won the title before, but to me, when you win back the title, you're kind of back at square one, right? So he won the title back,
Right.
and then he immediately lost it. So I think if we're going off merit, I don't know if Adesanya should get it. I get people who want to see it because of the bad blood and all that, but I understand that side. Chimaev has yet to beat a ranked middleweight, right? I mean, Kamaru Usman, who I know trains with you guys a bit, that was a good win, but it also wasn't against, like, he's not a middleweight, he's a welterweight, right? So there's that. And then you've got, Cannonier. He's won 2 in a row. He's got wins over Vettori and Sean Strickland. There's some argument there, but maybe, hasn't made enough noise. I don't know. So that's where I think things get interesting. And then you got Strickland as well, who, had a very close fight where fans are still talking about the fact that they think he won. But it was a close fight, I thought. So.
Right. And then Whitaker just beat Costa. And like, that was the thing, as I know they want to push Costa to a title fight against somebody else, but you can't do that now because Whitaker won again.
Yeah.
So like the top 5, to your point, the top 5 is like kind of been,
it's a mess. Like there's no clear cut
yeah.
contender in my opinion. I don't think so. That's why I wanted to get your thoughts on that. And there's no wrong answers here. And just last thing, sort of on your division, what did you make of Sean Strickland sparring Sneako? Did you see that where he kind of went at him?
Yeah. I mean, that guy agreed to it. You should be smart enough to figure out what you're getting into, and if you're not, well, then you kind of deserve it. And not for nothing, that Sneako dude doesn't seem like the best character anyway, so I don't really feel bad for him. I don't know any of these people personally, so it doesn't really affect me at all. But maybe there is a chance if you spar a UFC fighter, especially one who's notoriously unhinged, for lack of a better term, you might get your face beat in. So what's the old saying? Play stupid games, win stupid prizes. I chalk it up to that.
Yeah, I kind of equate it to like buying a pack of cigarettes. It says may cause cancer. You spar with Sean Strickland, you're probably not going to get taken lightly. Like I could see you sparring someone, if you didn't know them, you'd probably take it. Probably know that you're like, you have like a weapon being a fighter, right, to a certain degree. But Strickland doesn't care. In fact, he hates influencers. Right. So it's like you're almost like throwing a bunch of snakes in like a tiger pit or something.
Yeah, no, I saw a longer clip where he was actually like kind of letting the dude punch at him, I think, kind of just so the guy knew he couldn't do anything, and then he went off the last, like, I think it was 30 seconds.
Yeah.
But yeah, if I was, not that I'm like wanting to or asking for this, but yeah, if I was going to spar with somebody like that, it's like I would do a couple things to let you know that like you have no idea what you're doing, or that like if I wanted to, I could really hurt you, but I'm not going to actually do it because it's supposed to be, like a fun thing. But again, I don't think it's any secret at this point.
I know.
Sean Strickland doesn't look like that. It's like, oh, it's a fun little thing. He's like, no, I'm going to try to kill you. So, yeah, you got what you deserve on that one, I guess.
Sure. And the fans get what they deserve in this fight, Gerald. Looking forward to it. You, Bryan Barbarena, coming up here in a couple weeks. If there's anyone you want to thank before we get out of here, any sponsors, any social media you want to mention, I'll give you the last word.
Yeah, shout out to all my teammates. Combat Corner, as always, all my sponsors, my management company, Sucker Punch. Appreciate everybody. Appreciate the fans. Can't wait to go in there and do work.